Are they going to be deported or not? I mean, this is the bottom line.
We are looking at ways to create additional options for dealing with the children in particular, consistent with our laws and our values.
I'm trying to get an answer to, will most of them end up staying, in your judgment?
I think we need to find more efficient, effective ways to turn this tide around generally, and we've already begun to do that.
Right. What does that mean? Are you saying it's impractical to deport all of them who are here now?
We are looking at additional options for the kids in particular.
He is the Secretary of Homeland Security, answers directly to the President of the United States. And he could not say, do not come to America unlawfully. It violates our laws. We cannot accept that. If you do so, you will be deported. And if you bring children, you both are going to be deported.
Reaction to the Secretary of Homeland Security's interview this weekend on the situation on the border with illegal immigrant children flowing in. Some breaking news now. The Associated Press is reporting that President Obama is holding off for now on seeking new legal authority to send unaccompanied migrant kids back home faster. The approach is a change, says the AP, from what the White House has signaled, and follows criticism from immigration advocates who said the administration's planned approach was too harsh. It was confirmed Monday by 2 congressional aides who spoke on the condition of anonymity ahead of a formal announcement. He is, however, asking Congress for $2 billion supplemental to deal with the situation on the border. Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Steve, we heard Josh Earnest today try to explain the Homeland Security Secretary's statement. Now we hear that this is all going to change, what the administration was pushing for.
And there had been a statement out, I believe it was Thursday of last week, or at least guidance provided to reporters, that the president was going to seek this change in the law, which followed his comments on, I believe it was Monday, where he sort of hinted that that change was going to come. Look, the problem with the White House keeping their story straight in public is they don't know what they're going to do in private. There's been no policy decision. You remember when conservatives back in the 2008 campaign and in the early years of the Obama presidency always used to point to the fact that President Obama voted present when he was in the Illinois Senate. And I think most people in Washington, most people part of the establishment kind of shrugged that off and thought it was a cheap shot or a little elbow to the chin and maybe unfair. I think we're seeing the consequences of voting present. This is a difficult decision. There are no good answers. There are a number of reasons that have led us to this point. The president needs to make a very hard decision. He seems to be incapable of making it, and I think that's contributing to the chaos that we're seeing, or the confusion we're seeing in their public statements, and contributing to the chaos that we're seeing play out on the border.
I want to put up the numbers here, immigration stats, Mara. As you look at the different years, FY 2011, 15,949, then you come to fiscal year 2014 so far, 52,193 unaccompanied alien children.
Right. I think the president has made a decision. He made one today. He's not going to ask Congress for a change in the law that would allow him to expedite the deportation of these kids. This is pursuant to a 2008 law that says these kids have to have a certain kind of process and hearings. It was a law procedure instituted under the Bush administration to protect kids
and voted
from
unanimously in Congress.
Yes, from sex trafficking. And he's going to try to get some money out of Congress to deal with this. And clearly, if he had to make a decision between Republicans in Congress who are asking him to deport these kids versus immigration advocates, he's sided with the immigration advocates.
But clearly the country is not set up to have 52,193 deportation hearings quickly.
That's right.
Quickly.
That's right, and that's what he's decided. They're not going to have them quickly. The problem is that a lot of these kids, when you send them to a relative's house while they await their hearing, they often never come back for the hearing.
Charles.
Mara's point is the important one. The law was passed in 08, yes, in the Bush administration, yes, unanimously. But it was intended for sex trafficking. It was intended for small numbers of kids. And it made a lot of sense. It was never intended for a mass influx, a mass immigration. And people are yelling, it would be so inhumane to return them. Well, that's exactly what the law is for Mexicans or Canadians. So if it's inhumane, why isn't it? Why haven't you heard a protest about the return of kids who come in from Mexico? It was intended for something else. Obama is clearly making the statement indirectly by that story you just gave from AP, and through his Homeland Security Secretary, who refused to answer about deportation, that he is opening the doors of America to this influx. It will double, it will triple. And when we were told last week that, oh, Obama wants to change the law to make it apply the same to Central Americans as it does to Mexicans, I was saying here, show us you're serious, introduce the law immediately into Congress and get it passed. He didn't. He obviously was never serious. I don't think he is lost on this. I think he knows what to do. He wants to win the political argument with Hispanics and other pro-immigration groups, and he's doing it for political reasons, very, very cynically.
Well, what about this whole thing about how long they've known that this was going to be an issue? And, you know, other people go further, even lawmakers are going further, saying that this was all kind of part of the political plan. Here is a posting for an escort for the federal government, ICE. ICE is seeking the services of a responsible vendor that shares the philosophy of treating all unaccompanied alien children with dignity and respect while adhering to standard operating procedures and policies that allow for an effective, efficient, and incident-free transport. There will be, this is back in January, this posting happened, there will be approximately 65,000 unaccompanied alien children in total, 25% local ground transport, 25% via ICE charter, and 50% via commercial air. Take a listen to Ed Henry asking Josh Earnest about all of this today.
If the administration back in January had a contract out there looking for escorts to help these kids, doesn't that suggest the administration knew there was a wave coming and was not actually proactive if this contract was out there, but yet you still had the problem developed?
For questions about the contract, Ed, I'd check with DHS. I'm not aware.
They said that the contract was valid, it was real, but it was dealing with a broad problem.
Well, I think the key there is the projection. I mean, we have had escorts before for children. You showed the numbers before. There have been children who have come in before. The key there is the surge, predicting the surge back in January. It suggests that they knew exactly what we were about to see. And not only did the president not make this change last week, he didn't make the change. Either he wasn't notified and wasn't in a position to make the change back then, or they knew about it at the White House, not just at DHS, and did nothing to prepare for it. This is one of the reasons why you have Republicans speculating that the president knew about this all along, that this was part of a plan.
Is that way out there, Maura?
You know, part of a plan to do what? Part of a plan to get as many kids into the United States as possible?
No, to use the politics of the issue to hammer House Republicans for not moving comprehensive immigration reform. I don't think he needed to do this to use the politics of the issue to hammer House Republicans. As long as House Republicans didn't pass immigration reform, the Democrats have a great issue in the long term, not necessarily in the short term. This looks like mismanagement to me. I mean, when you see these numbers year after year, they went up by more than 10,000 every year. The surge was happening. It just really took off in the last year. Can somebody answer the question, if the Senate bill, the comprehensive immigration bill that passed the Senate, if it was the law of the land today, how would it affect the 52,193 who got over here? Would they not have been able to get here? Would it have affected anything?
Of course not. It would have made no difference whatsoever. The argument is a complete non sequitur. It's an excuse. The law that you have to change in order that would have had an effect on this would have been a law that would say we will treat Central Americans like Mexicans when you get a child entering unaccompanied. That's all you have to do. The comprehensive immigration law would have had zero effect. In fact, if it would have had any effect, it would have been more of an invitation, because it would be granting amnesty to 11 million, and that is an open invitation, a magnet to another 11 million adult and children.
And if there was some kind of a plan, it certainly, I think, creates political problems or at least rhetorical problems for the White House. Yeah. I mean, we've had a White House and reform advocates that were saying all along, look, the borders are secure. We don't need these enforcement mechanisms that Republicans are calling about.
Janet Napolitano said that very thing.
Yeah. Janet Napolitano, you had Jay Carney said it from the podium. This was the argument. That was the key argument of the pro-reform crowd. Now you have the same people saying, in effect, we can't really do anything about this surge. You know, we're not going to try to do it.
Next up, is Hillary Clinton putting political distance between herself and President Obama?